interesting discussion on capacity building, role of institutions and education system. Please join me in welcoming our moderator, Mr. Prasanna Lohar, Head Technology, Digital Innovation and Architecture, DCB Bank, followed by our esteemed panelists, Mr. Raj Chaudhary, Managing Director, Hashcash Consultants, Mr. Shantanu Paul, CEO and Managing Director, Talent Sprint, and Ms. Janine Ju, Head of Developer Relations, Artsy. A very warm welcome to all of you. Over to you, Mr. Prasanna.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. Thank you, IMAI, for bringing this innovative blockchain summit. That too on that time when we are almost on the verge of lockdown get over, and India as a country look at many initiatives to be executed as a part of Atmanirbhar, or looking at we are on that verge that we need to automate so much agenda of Atmanirbhar, agenda of Make in India, or there are a lot of things are happening in the space. We are at the verge of some data privacy, a lot of cyber security. For 12 months. So blockchain, I think as in India, we have seen light in the blockchain like maybe 2015-16, wherein startups, I think there were only three to four startups who has started this journey way back in 2015. Today, I think more than 300, 400 startups. We have seen a lot of educational is happening either through talent sprint or upgrades or some amenities, and many institutes have captured blockchain as one of the stream too as an emerging technology education. Apart from that, many banks in India like ICICI or it of a DCB Bank or SBI or Kotak Bank, many has implemented few of those POCs and pilot. And if you look at the financial inclusion index across the world, it is somewhere like although almost like maybe 1 billion people still yet to have a financial literacy or a financial accounts. 2 billion people have almost like $1 or $2 per day salary, and they don't have some kind of identity or financial ecosystem. And that is what World Economic Forum or UN says. I think blockchain is a radical change technology. It will come and really give back all of those things, like say example having some financial support or support system for all of those people. Or if you really look at 17 sustainable goals, right, wherein UN has announced these goals in 2015, and by 2030 all of these 140 nations would like to see these goals has to be met. One of those goals like zero hunger, or a zero poor, or a good infrastructure, or a good health. I think health is now very important after this COVID scenario. And even World Economic Forum says that some of these goals can be achieved with only technology like AI, blockchain, IoT coming together. And these are all facts. Okay, so now coming back, we've been hearing blockchain since last several years, but its adoption is quite low, right? So we have seen as awareness. I think many organizations know blockchain is an agenda, but if you really look at the projects which are went live in India compared to the whole world, India's adoption could be minuscule. Asia's adoption is somewhere around 9% as of whole world. So I think one of the aspect, like even in current meet is national blockchain strategy, they were emphasized one of the pillar for blockchain adoption in country like India or any of the country, education. Education plays major role in this blockchain journey. We might keep on having so many sessions, so many POCs and pilots. Ultimately, what is that we look at how business will happen on the technology like blockchain. Is it really important, or how blockchain is gonna helpful for every citizen in India? Otherwise, it's just a story like one of the project is done by any of the corporates. So I think as an emerging technology, just the way internet has touched upon every citizen in India, we can't imagine our life without internet. But at the same time, in 2021, when you look at internet has its own flaws, trust or traceability. These factors are missing in internet, where blockchain comes and says, "Hey, I am there, and I think as a concept, I will really take care of the trust." But as a concept, it's okay. But how do we really implement? How do we embark our journey, and how do we nurture, or how do we bridge that gap, wherein many corporates, many governments would like to do blockchain projects, but at the same time they are looking for blockchain developers. For example, few days back, Tamil Nadu government was looking at blockchain architects or developers, and they were like doing those lot of promotions, right? We don't do promotions for these Java developers or DBAs. And if you really look at the whole, I think as a India in today 2021, we have around few thousands of developers. Maybe if you say precisely, it should not be more than 10,000 developers, expert developers. So I think coming back, let's discuss this whole story, why education is very, very important. So Shantanu sir, you are one of those pioneer, right, in education ecosystem. We look at Talent Sprint as one of those examples everybody should look at on the online and offline space also. So what is your view? Why education is more important pillar? And maybe you can talk about your experiences, how Talent Sprint is collaborating with the whole ecosystem to bridge this gap.
Sure. Thank you so much, Prasanna. I appreciate your moderating the event. I appreciate all my fellow panelists, and I also thank IMI for organizing this very important blockchain summit, and especially talking about capacity building, in which we have been playing a role for quite some time. I think the question you ask, Prasanna, is very relevant because, in the broader context of what you said, I just want to tie up a couple of threads. The deep technologies have been evolving for the last 5, 6 years in the Indian ecosystem. Gone are the days when professionals wanted to become project managers as their sole goal in life. I think people now want to become technology professionals, and they want to really there's a return to technology, if I may say so, and that's in the form of deep technology, whether it's AI or machine learning on one side, the data science, or it's blockchain, or it's cryptography, or it is, something to do with fintech. So if I look at these evolving trends, I think deep technology is an area of education that Talisman has been focusing on for working professionals who are trying to do course corrections in their careers, and also in terms of college students who are trying to get a first career break. Because we know that the students who are coming out today cannot follow the same recipe of their predecessors 10 years ago in terms of what it takes to get going with a good career. At the same time, professionals in the industry know that what got them here will not get them there. So therefore, they are also very keen to acquire these new technology skill sets. So in that sense, Talent Sprint addresses that market, right? Now, just to give you a couple of points about the model that we follow, we realized very quickly that working professionals, especially where this need for deep technology is extremely high and the aspiration to learn things like AI and blockchain is extremely high, we realized that working professionals, to some extent, want really high quality academic certifications now, which is kind of an irony in the sense that people in industry have less trust in industry certifications now. They have more trust in high quality academic blue chip certifications. So we went and partnered with IIM Calcutta, IIT Kanpur, IIIT Hyderabad, IIC Bangalore, all these top schools which have great Indian brands, the so-called Indian IVs, if I may use that term. And these institutions are also trying to bring executive education in terms of deep technology to the market. So we found a very common ground to work with them. So that's why our pioneering program, which you referred to in blockchain and distributed ledger technologies, which comes from a partnership with IIIT Hyderabad and Talent Sprint working this together. I think that's in the 6th cohort that is starting now. More than 300 graduates, couple of, I think, 2, 3 startups that have been formed from the alumni of that program in blockchain. So those are very good success stories. And we realized that Talisman plays a very interesting role in mediating between the academic expertise of these top schools. But also recently we signed with R3 Coda to kind of make Coda a part of a curriculum. And earlier we have been talking to Ripple to find ways how to get Ripple into the curriculum. So what I call the experiential learning model, which is learning by doing rather than learning by listening. And I think part of we can all agree that learning by listening is now largely not going to work anymore. Learning by doing and learning by actually implementing is where the game is. So our professional education courses combine the best academic expertise along with the best learning by doing models that industry has to offer, and then we combine that through a digital delivery platform that is unique to Talent Sprint, which allows us to scale this up really massively, right? So we have kind of, I think, pioneered the idea of partnering with the ecosystem in a much more holistic way. We haven't tried to be an isolated player saying, oh, we know everything, we can offer everything to everybody. We have said, look, there is an ecosystem here of expertise, hands-on implementation skill sets, practical applications, and of course, people looking for this combination of what I call, hybrid learning. One is digital as well as offline, digital as well as contact, and the other hybrid is academic versus industrial. If you combine this hybrid in two different axes, you get a talent sprint kind of a program, right? So to kind of round it out, I would say that in our minds, AI is the automation of intelligence. That's a trend that is, without a doubt, that train has left the station. Nobody can anymore pull it back. The other one is automation of trust, which is blockchain, and that technology is now coming upon us. Of course, we can talk a lot about why it has taken so long to get going, etc. Why 5 years? Why not 3,000 students? Why 300 students only so far? I think there is also a regulatory environment which is very sensitized and sensitive. Unlike AI, where everybody agrees this is something we can do, here there are other factors like currencies and cryptocurrencies and digital central bank digital currencies. All of those are playing a role. So the regulatory environment is a little more murky, if I may use that term. And until that clears up, the uptake of education may still be somewhat slow. So we are getting today the so-called pioneering learners, the early adopters. We're not getting the early majority yet. AI has gone into early majority, but blockchain adoption of learning has still in that so-called early adopter phase. So hopefully that will change in the next year or two. I'm very optimistic. So hopefully that was a introduction that helped answer your question.
I think really great view, Shantanu. I think the way you at 2021, if I think there are quite a lot of training programs available in India, right? So we can name 10, 12, or maybe more than that. But I think the way you are doing, I think it's a forefront because you are already in a collaboration with those R3s and those companies who are giving the next level of those fabrics, which is being utilized by the developers. So that is very hand to hand, right? It's not like a only theoretical program, but I think the way you said that it is a hands-on program for those. And at the same time, you are bringing those pioneers of those blockchain. For example, maybe in 2030, we'll talk with those talents who are generated by talent sprints, and those guys will be part of many of those initiatives in India. So good to see how you are really your thought process around how do we nurture the education in the India space. So I think I'll move forward to the Jenny, right? I think Jenny is one of those from R3, and R3 is one of those, or rather one of those is the number one, at least current report as far as a blockchain framework or platform is concerned in a financial ecosystems. And R3 is Corda is pioneering quite a lot of activities with many companies in India, as you rightly said, talent student, as well as they are running some of those educational programs also, some marketplace club, and I think that gives a momentum for developers at a junior level to use R3. And maybe Jenny, over to you. You can share your thoughts how R3 is. Looking at education as one of those pillars to nurture this blockchain ecosystem. You may touch upon some of the use cases which R3 has done in India. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm very grateful to be here and really excited about talking about the educational aspect of it, because in my field, this is what I've been focusing on for the past 10 or so years. And what's really fascinating, again, about working with Talent Sprint is that when I joined R3 less than a year ago, there was a major pain point, a struggle of really expanding the developer ecosystem. And I don't think it's a matter of tools and resources. I mean, as you mentioned before, people are taking a hybrid approach in terms of understanding blockchain and getting up to speed and the technologies. However, I think the challenge is just the quality, the structure, as opposed to rather than just watching like tons of YouTube videos. There needs to be some support and handholding. Just transform the pedagogy to include not just the visual, but the audio, and then the one-on-one hands-on tutorial. And what I was really impressed with Talent Sprint, and we really did need Talent Sprint's help, and we're very grateful to enter this partnership. Talent Sprint, they understand, the complexity of educating the developers. And after taking a look at their distributed ledger technology course, it was wonderful how they were able to really simplify that whole educational experience, starting off with the fundamentals and then also getting into the elements of cryptography, which is really critical. And so currently at R3, I've run the developer relations and education. So the great thing about my job is that, we try to provide as many free resources and tools as possible. But again, we depend on Talent Sprint to also help us expand that ecosystem. And also, for those of you interested, I am offering free certification as well as free Mastering Porta book. Please email the organizer or just message us. More than happy to provide that for you. But given, and one of the things we've noticed with a lot of our customers is that there is a shortage of blockchain developers. I'm based here in the US and Silicon Valley, and not just here, but we're very dependent on India. I mean, that's our technology hub for, engineering talent. And so we're very grateful to actually work with Talent Sprint to expand the community. So we have multiple events, we have boot camps, as well as tutorials. We're building out our developer portal to better nurture the developer ecosystem. And we're also identifying champions and allowing them to also provide their form of blockchain education to the community.
So I think great views, Jenny. I think so. Apart from building projects for governments and corporates, you guys are embarking some kind of a thing wherein to develop how developer community should get benefited out of R3. So I think so. One more thing I just wanted to touch upon before I go on to the Raj, like what is your view on open source and how R3 is looking at this open source journey? Because why I'm asking this question, in any of the technologies, say AI, IoT, or any of those operating systems, so all of them were open source one point in time before getting actually mainstream, and that's how really it has really helped for any of the products. For example, Red Hat, or say example some of those. Now recently, some of the Microsoft has done some of the product open source. Even in India, this Arogya Setu app, which is another open source. Why it is required to create more and more innovations around that before make it more generic. So I think what is your view, Janine, like how R3 Coda is looking at open source as an initiative?
Well, I think, and again, I haven't been with the company long, but in terms of, allowing open source, allowing developers to contribute to this open source solution, it really just empowers developers to, well, empowers the community to want to contribute to this technology and also expand the ecosystem. So I believe by making them part of our open core model, that will allow them to really, not only contribute to the functionality, we could potentially also adopt some new features in this stuff, especially for other use cases as well. They could also contribute to that. And so hence the importance of the whole open source community. But of course, we also have the Porta Enterprise as well.
Yes. Yeah. So Raj. So I think Raj, we being so close friend because of blockchain, right? So I think our journey started way back in 2016. In 17 rather, when we launched BankChain as a consortium of the banks along with ICICI and SBI, DCB, and which was well supported by almost 36 more partners. And we have our own learnings around BankChain, right? One of the, I think, so over to you, Raj. You being one of those pioneer in the blockchain industry and being at a Hashcash and being at a Hashcash, do you face any challenge around hiring skills and how do you really mitigate that? So that's a basic question. But coming back, do you really see that education is a very, very important aspect as far as the blockchain nurturing in the ecosystem? You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. So thank you, Prasanna, for that question. It's always a pleasure to be with you, discussing about blockchain. It reminds us of the journey and, all the things that we did since 2015 and, that led to the creation of Hashcash and where I joined around 2017. Education and industry goes hand in hand, and there's no denying that. But I just want to leave a background. So we started, with BankChain, and then with ICICI Bank, and where we did the first intra-bank transaction between ICICI and Emirates NBD in the area of remittance and trade finance. And then from there, I started Hashcash, and then Hashcash has, has a wider portfolio of products in the fintech, in the banking and other BFSI areas. And it also runs a cryptocurrency exchange called paybito.com, and also a payment processor called Bill Bitcoins. It runs a education arm under Blockchain 101. It also, have courses in learn.hashcashconsultants.com, which are free for anyone, and it was always free and it will always be free. And you can also do certifications there on our website, learn.hashcashconsultants.com. Um, I think one of the challenges, Hashcash today is locally registered in 4 countries, US, where we have the holding company, and then there's a Delaware member company. And then, in India, we have a, Hashcash entity, and in Singapore and in UAE. So we operate today globally. In India, we hire, currently we have a workforce of about 250 people, largely developers in the blockchain space. We have a lot of salespeople and on the field people in other regions. The development centers are heavily focused in the Indian geography. We hire a lot of developers in India, and we continue to hire today as well as the market grows and matures. We are seeing the 2021 as a year of institutional movement. We have been a major supplier of technology to the blockchain world and to the cryptocurrency world, to many small and medium-sized enterprises. And now this year we are seeing that the institutions are getting into the game, and in a very large way. And you're seeing a lot of traction starting 2021, both in the investment cycles and as well as in the client bases. There's a lot of movement. We got to realize that this is a time when we are going through a huge transformation. A lot of people sometimes tend to underestimate that, but like it or not, we are actually going through the phase of transformation of finance. We are going through, in some regards, privatization of finance, if you will, with a lot of cryptocurrencies. It's decentralized, but then again, as humans, we tend to centralize everything. And I see that there will be a certain level of centralization in the decentralized world that we live in today. So I think you will see a lot of that having going through in 2021. We'll go through a lot of that. These changes are very transformative, and also another note around this area is blockchain and cryptocurrency. These are, of course, we all know that cryptocurrency is an implementation of, on top of blockchain technology, but then there's a major movement in the cryptocurrency space as well, and you can't do really just blockchain and ignore cryptocurrencies, and because it's a global phenomena. It's Tesla getting into the game. It's, tomorrow it'll be Apple, the other day it'll be Amazon and Microsoft, and everybody is going to launch their own coins. They're going to get into the game. Having BTC, ETH reserves are going to be very important, even for governments in the next 4 or 5 years. So you're going to see a lot of transformation, things that we can't imagine, and things that we are scared to talk about, right? But those things are going to happen right in front of us, and we're going to go through in the next few years. So as far as education and hiring resources goes, uh, it's extremely difficult, to run a blockchain company, and the reason is resources, right? They're so scarce, and the problem is that there isn't enough education around blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and people are not there. There are developers, but then they're not specifically trained in the blockchain space. The other realization that we as companies need to also have is that in the blockchain is also partially a group of technology or languages that can be segregated in application development. And blockchain doesn't have to be all, a new space that has to be retrained from scratch, right? So a lot of what we talk about when we talk about blockchain is application development in Golang, in Node.js, in even application development in standard core Java or advanced Java. So it's more of the understanding of how you implement these in blockchain, and the business level and use case level understanding that people also need to have. What we do as a company, and what I always have thought as, a little bit smart, is that we have created a structure and process where we could take developers in relevant areas in languages that we use and turn them into blockchain developers, fairly easily with the process and
Very
structure of the training. And that has saved us the day, and because we wouldn't have been able to run the scale of projects and the number of projects with a handful of developers that can be called as blockchain developers. So I think that is something that the industry also could adopt, right? Um, and, and then also educational programs, Hashcash, gives a lot of educational programs through Learn and Hash Blockchain 101. And we also run incubation programs for startups. It's another way of learning is doing. So when you start your own company and startups, we incubate startups, and in many cases we have acquired them in the last couple of years. And that's also a way of getting started with your own company, as well as in the area of education, getting started with learning more about blockchain through Learn.
So great. I think we heard Shantanu, Jenny, and Raj. So I'll just touch upon four various areas, right, in education as well as research. One important area which you may laugh at, why I'm saying that area, because you said about cryptocurrency, right? And I think that was an era like when Bitcoin was the only blockchain. Like people used to just talk about Bitcoin or Ethereum and Ripple, and blockchain is always like in a Bitcoin for them. I think fundamental education is required among all the people is that Bitcoin is one of those use case, or Ethereum or Ripple is one of those use case of the thousands of those use cases. Just like a Paytm is one of the use case of internet, or Flipkart is one of the. I think that level of education is also required. Another angle to look at education within organization. Even if I have several developers as a blockchain experts, or even if I have a blockchain architect, to convince an MD or to convince a board, I think trade finance is one of those use case, or a syndicated loan or AML KYC is one of the use case of a blockchain for a banks together. It takes a lot of time, right? It took a lot of months altogether for people to understand trade finance to be the best use case or a cross border. So I think another education is very important for your management and the top management. So I think at a DCP, what we have done, starting from board or top management, we have done several awareness session on blockchain with the typical use cases which will help us to enhance business or operations. Third angle, I just look at our education is that how we can nurture current education ecosystem, where I think Shantanu can give his inputs. Say example, today we have a computer networking or a DBMS is a part of a engineering or some kind of a concepts into IT MBA of a database management or how to design systems or SDLC. So for a longer run, right? Say example, India want to become one of those top 10 blockchain countries, just like Estonia or China or Australia or some of the upcoming small countries also have a very good infrastructure structure around blockchain adoption. How we can really see this education going as a fundamental education as a blockchain. So today is a blockchain, tomorrow it could be blockchain AI or some other technology. So we had some education policy given by India in the last year. So I think what all those inputs we can give. And the fourth angle, I will look at research part, right? As a blockchain is a niche, just a new technology, and as a developer, I start developing. I keep on developing a lot of juggleries, and based upon a platform or readiness of platform, I need to do a lot of GitHubs and see which are the open source tools are available, not available. And the way I do developments on this rapid application development, it is just a drag drop and build a without understanding smart contract or without understanding what is in my node and all, right? It goes with some kind of a fundamental understanding that more than two stakeholders, more than two parties, need of traceability, need of no need of intermediary, and let me just create an application on the fly and deploy it within a 1 day. So that part I think maybe we will discuss with Jenny. So I think Shantanu, over to you. Like how what is your view? You being so you being like a guru for educational ecosystem, right? So what is your view, like how India should really look at blockchain or any of those technology, so that to begin with, how we can embark on that journey, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Prasanna. I don't know if I deserve the title of a guru. It seems a little heavy, but having said that, let me just say that the question you've asked is actually a very important question that we're asking ourselves all the time. In the traditional talent sprint approach, when we find a successful product for the working professionals market, in this case, let's say blockchain, we then immediately start thinking about how can we create a version of the same program for college students who can actually start with that as a career and then break into it and create new inventory, right? I think the problem we have worldwide for workforce today is that we have fixed inventory and we're trying to recycle between companies. And that's all we're doing is poaching from each other. But when you unlock new inventory from colleges year after year systematically, you can actually broaden the base of talent quite fast. The problem then becomes a problem of chicken and egg, right? So I'll give you an example. If when Raj was speaking, and I think he's absolutely the perfect example of this, because many people I talk to who are running blockchain companies, their primary concern, anxiety is that where is the talent, right? And then people go and find ways to repurpose talent, like Raj described quite well, that how you repurpose people and then you get what you need to get. But the problem that every company will say in blockchain is that I don't have the talent. Where is the talent? And because of talent constraint, I'm not able to grow. And if you're not able to grow, you're not going to create mass jobs. And when you go to the college and say, let me teach you blockchain, they'll say, where are the jobs? Right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling, vicious cycle where because the talent crunch is so severe, the companies aren't able to grow. If they're not able to grow, they can't bring in more jobs into the market. And if there are not enough jobs coming into the market, the college student is only obsessing about one thing: which company will I get a job in? And if those are not in very large numbers, you can't expect students these days to pay for that education. So the problem ultimately comes that how will college students pay for their education? Because aspirationally, unless they see lots of jobs being created, they will not pay for it. Case in point, over the last 2-3 years, you may have noticed that data science is a area where students have figured out this is worth doing. Because today, a college student will have no problem paying for a good data science program because they believe data scientists and data analyst jobs are plenty. But they will have a lot of trouble paying for a blockchain program because they think the market is not fully there in terms of jobs. So this chicken and egg problem is always there and we have to break it. The traditional way to break it is to create more supply without asking students to pay for it, right? That would be the right answer, because if students have to pay for it, then it becomes hard for them for us to produce that supply rapidly. So therefore, the question then becomes is that, can we create very specific, loops through which we can solve it? For example, Talent also works with Google, also works with Pegasystems, where we have very targeted skill sets we produce with the assumption that if you produce 100 students in this skill set from the college, 99 of them will get these jobs, right? So you create a closed loop system, start ramping up the engine. You say, okay, here are the employers waiting to hire you. Here is the program. Now you join this program and you're pretty much assured that this company will hire you if you do all your part correctly in terms of technical and academic excellence in the program. So the problem I think today is that in blockchain, we still haven't cracked the code on which are those 2-3 enlightened employers with whom we can work to start the supply chain moving rapidly. Because if no employer steps up to create this engine, this pull factor, the engine at the upstream will not start firing up, right? And that has been our experience. So challenge we have today is that I know how to take an AI program from a working professional to the college. I know how to take it from data science from working professional to college because these engines have fired up. Blockchain is like waiting to fire up. We need the employers to step up and say, you know what, give me 100 people and I'll take 90 of them if they're good. We haven't gotten there.
I think great view, Shantanu. I think I'll just to support you, I'll just talk about some examples. Like, say, example, 4 banks coming together and saying that let me do a syndicated loan or some warehouse financing. Or say, example, we have this account aggregator model, which is one of those use case for blockchain. Or you talk about CKYC. CKYC, which is currently available, can go on to blockchain, wherein we can do away with these intermediaries or those operational efforts. What remains? What is the incentive for that bank, or what is how that bank should participate? What is the governance structure? That is, I think, missing in some of those use cases. I think the way we have done UPI, right, which was well supported by RBI and NPCI has implemented it for almost all banks, and banks know what is the incentivization for there. Similarly, any use case or any technology coming in or use case based upon technology, I think there has to be some structure incentivization. Then only bank will really look for more developers or will ask Tech Mahindras or Infosys to come and implement that ecosystem for them. So I think it has to come from top. So even if those educational institutes will keep on creating developer pools, I think at a central level or at a MITI level or the NITI Aayog level, they should create some kind of awareness program for corporates or various regulators. Why this technology is very, very important. I think we being always speak about some campaign like Atmanirbhar or Make in India, but I think how this will be triggered or accelerated for a next wave. I think that's something missing. I think we should really look at it. That could be one of the messages from this session to the government or to those policymakers. They should look at some of those awareness programs or collaborate with the Talent Spirit or collaborate with the R3 so that journey becomes smoother. So I think, Jenny, you have any inputs considering this part, right? At that stage, and R3 today will be a very enhanced R3 if you that journey, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so first, I just wanted to comment on a few things that were said before. How I really think it's up to the companies, including R3 Corda, to simplify the developer experience. A lot of developer communities, companies who are offering APIs or offering kind of the no-code experience, whether it be through, a UI or like, for example, the way we're breaking down how to build a Cord app. Okay, we're trying not to, a Cord app is a Corda decentralized application. So we're trying to stick with the terminology that's common in blockchain, just in case there's an opportunity where developers already know some of the fundamentals. And then we say okay, you need to learn to code just 3 types of objects, states, contracts, and flows. So, and then providing that simplified developer experience tools to get onboarded, setting up your IntelliJ environment. I think that's really critical in order to get them excited. And another thing too, going back to the use cases, capital markets, trade finance, for a developer, that's not really, too exciting. I really think they need to see the opportunities. Here in Silicon Valley, I've been here for about 20 years. I've seen the whole hype coming up with, when Instagram became a big thing, then everybody wanted to build an Instagram app. When I was teaching iOS development, when that first came out, people were really excited because they could apply it to use cases that could potentially be a $2 billion acquisition. So, in order to get that supply chain of developers going, let's say you have 100 developers, okay, you're going to put them through the whole blockchain experience. Development experience, you need to get them excited about it. You need to show them, like at R3, we also have a venture dev program where we take in startups, like an incubator, take in startups and like educate them through the process of building out potential use cases. I think that's extremely valuable. But I think right now, since my family doesn't even know what I do. They're like blockchain, whatever. So it's some technology. But they have no interest in better understanding that, right? So I think it's our role, as well as talent sprints, to really create that interest and that need and that excitement, to make it as exciting as Stripe or Twilio or these other APIs that are available. That's all.
Jenny, I think one of those concepts like hackathon or some kind of talent competitions, right? So how R3 is aligned with these kind of initiatives for hackathons with the corporate, we really collaborate with the corporates globally?
Well, for some of the hackathons, I haven't been, we have boot camps and everything. And what we try to do, we reach out to certain associations globally and also to universities. Because, one of the challenges, well, I know, in the US, is some universities don't keep up with the latest technologies and don't have the talent in order to educate developers. And so what we do, we offer those resources free of charge. And for hackathons, we try to provide them. I think we did recently have one, like let's try to, a use case, potentially supply chain management. We'll also try to get a potential a customer involved who also has some pain points, where, they could build out those solutions as well.
Awesome. So I think Raj, you yeah, so Raj, so I think being part of your ICSA journey or being part of a Hashcash, what is your fundamental advice or suggestion to upcoming students or colleges, how they should start their journey on understanding blockchain technology?
Well, I think well, education and industry again, they have to go hand in hand. And am I audible?
You are.
Yeah, you are audible.
All right. So so the industry and education, they have to go hand in hand. And I think what is important is the over the course of the few years, there'll be a lot of jobs created in this space, and that would lead to exciting the educational sector, because it had been a little bit on the following side, and it has to now get ahead of the like following and be the leader in this space, where they would be educating for the industry so that the people are ready to join the industry. But it's again a catch-22 where the industry also have to create jobs. So that's one important thing, that the market has to mature as well, and regulatory frameworks have to come along, because right now it seems like the governments and in a lot of countries, the regulatory authorities and blockchain and cryptocurrencies are in a tussle in some manner, but that has to change, and technology cannot be stopped, and it's for the good. It will create efficiency in the payment systems. It's going to be an asset class going forward. So a lot of, for example, a lot of the people that we need inside our company is from the financial sector. We build, exchanges that handles market orders, limit orders, derivatives, futures, options. They handle OTC trading, so which requires a great deal of knowledge in the financial and trading sector. We build compliant fixed 4.4 protocol communication protocol exchanges that can segregate the current market, which is in an amateurish state, into exchanges, brokers, custodians, depositories, and clearing members, right? So right now, the way the system works is one player takes a undesirable amount of risk, and that is what we are seeing is breaking up into multiple different areas, and that's what we are catering towards. So blockchain doesn't necessarily mean just technology. It's also domain understanding and the implementation, the understanding of the use cases and and
Yes.
where the use cases belong. So those areas are very important to take a holistic approach on blockchain education.
Yeah, so I think we are run out of time. So in a nutshell, what I would just want to round up, blockchain is one of those is very, very important technology for here onwards. If organizations have not started their journey, they should start their journey by creating some awareness within organization to take up those initiatives, do some kind of a POC pilot, learn through that, then go for bigger use cases, and collaborate. As a Santanu said, collaboration is a mantra for a success. Blockchain itself is a collaboration technology, right? And it teaches us how to collaborate with the competition, how one bank should collaborate with other bank, how one regulator should collaborate with other regulator, or how educational institutions should collaborate with a company like R3, IBM, or Hyperledger. I think blockchain comes and teaches us how to really coexist together and create a trusted ecosystem. So education could be at an organization level, education could be at a out of organization, at a developer community level, or education could be like at a government level, how they will embark their state level policies or country level policies and incorporate education around blockchain or any of those emerging technologies. Blockchain goes hand in hand with the other technologies, that it becomes a complete digital or a complete any of those experience for any of those. Ultimately, I think if we want to see India as one of those pioneer countries, I think we should adopt AI, blockchain, IoTs, 5G, and these technologies immediately and with a higher speed. So I think thank you so much, IMEI, for giving us opportunity to discuss on this panel. And I think there are a lot of learnings for me typically to go back and rethink how we can really accelerate or change the gear to create a more accelerated journey for blockchain in India. Yeah, over to you, Shreya. Yeah.
Thank you, dear esteemed panelists, for your valuable time and insights. We truly appreciate it. I would also like to thank our valued partners, R3 and EY. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now be back after a short 10-minute break. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.